Hello, good evening, everyone. Yeah, today we start our lecture series on research methods 2. Recently, we followed the steps and we had our lectures in research methods 1. I guess colleagues tried to access them and tried to understand as we are explained. So, today's first lecture in the research methods 2 series, like I told you, that in research methods 1, we are getting the theories, the theory based on research. And now in research methods 2, we are trying to get the practical, the application of what we are studying in research methods 1. And therefore, today's first lecture in research methods 2 is about overview of a research proposal. So, and the overview of the research proposal, we are going to define what a research proposal is and its importance, explain the key components of research proposal. We include the introduction, the literature review, the methodology, and then the expected outcomes. And then explore the different types of research proposals based on disciplines and methodologies, illustrate the structure and format of a typical research proposal, and then address common challenges and pitfalls in developing a research proposal. So a research proposal is a detailed plan outlining a proposed project. I think it is clear. Yeah, like I told you in the research methods 1, that at first, as you begin the research process, you must come up with a research design. But research design is now that one belongs to you, the investigator. Now the research proposal is what you submit for approval. Is what you submit to the concerned bodies and committees, the institutional review boards, the research ethics committees for approval. So, importance of research proposal, it helps researchers stay focused on their goals throughout the project. You set goals and then put them in writing. And what a proposal does, it keeps you updated of what you are supposed to follow through the research process. It demonstrates the feasibility of the project and helps researchers anticipate potential challenges. Like I've told you, we know that once you submit the institutional review boards, they are going to review that research to see whether it will be possible to have the research conducted. But even before these committees, you as an individual who is carrying out this research, this proposal, as you try to go through the steps, it indicates to you that this research project is indeed applicable, it is indeed feasible to have it conducted. It helps to ensure that researchers adhere to ethical guidelines and protect the rights of the participants. Yeah, we know that you indicate everything to do with ethical considerations in research. We shall have a lecture to do with that. But all this one will be doing with the practical or applicability. So, when we consider the ethical guidelines, researchers adhere to these ethical guidelines and they protect the rights of their participants. Like I've told you, you illustrate how you protect them, how you protect their information. You illustrate it in the proposal. It helps researchers plan and allocate resources efficiently. The researcher will know what is required where, and the researchers will try to allocate the resources very well and will know what is needed and needed in what quantities. During the proposal development, you also come up with the sample size determination. You try to estimate the sample size that you will require in your research study. So once you know the population, the target population, and then the sample size, and then what are the categories of the population you are targeting, you'll know what exactly you require to have the research process conducted. Communicates the significance of the research project to stakeholders. For example, the funding agencies, the collaborators, and then ethical committees. They will know the justification of this study. They will know how significant the study is. In other words, it also illustrates what would happen if at all this research is not conducted, or it indicates how the communities will benefit from this research being conducted. A research proposal. So, what is the composition of this proposal? We know very well it is composed of a title. You need a title. declaration and supervisor details. This is just a flow diagram of a research proposal, like a flow information of the research proposal. Declaration and supervisor details, you need to tell us about your supervisor. You need to declare you as an individual. We shall see this. And then you need an abstract and a table of contents, much as the abstract, table of contents, declaration. These ones come when you have come after you writing the final proposal, after you writing the proposal. Then what you come up with is now you try to obtain an abstract, and this is the summary. This abstract is the summary of what you have in details. Then it has a chapter 1, which we are going to discuss in our next lecture. The chapter 2, the literature review. We shall see it now in applicability, in application. And then it has the methodology as chapter 3. And then you'll need the list of references. In case it is not in case it is a report, of course you go beyond chapter 3. You proceed to chapter 4 to tell us about the results and then the findings. You get it? Yeah. So, but now it is still a proposal. You just give us the list of references and then the appendices. Yeah, the appendices. These include the timeline. That is the work plan. Yeah, and then the research budget, any data collection tools, and the consent forms. Then, in case you need to give us some maps about the study area, you can also include the maps. You can include these maps in your research proposal because it will ease now your investigators. They will find it easy to locate your study area. Yeah, they'll find it easy to locate your study area. So what is the first step in research? So the first step in research, earlier on we talked about this. It is the process, it is defining the research problem or question. Remember, the very, very first step, you see that there is a gap in this. And then this gap, you come up with a research problem and you define the research problem, or you generate a research question. Of course, research problems come from a research question. You get it? So this is the initial stage, and it involves identifying a topic of interest. You get it? Determining the purpose of the research and formulating clear and focused research question or hypothesis. Now we know what a research question is. We know what hypothesis is. We know the topics. We are going to come up with a topic, but at least you know your research needs a topic. Defining the research problem sets the foundation of the entire research process by guiding the direction of the study and helping researchers establish specific objectives and goals to address the issue at hand. So once you have your research problem defined, other steps in the research become easy because this problem guides on the tools that you need, guides on the study design that you'll use, guides on the study population that you are targeting, guides on the age and the sexy specificities that you will take. So that is the first step in research. A research problem. It is a specific issue or question that a researcher aims to investigate through a systematic study. It is your target issue. It is your target factor that you are trying everything rotates around this problem. Everything in your research rotates around this problem. The justification comes from the problem. The literature review, you're reviewing about this problem. The methodologies that you will follow everything rotating around the problem. So it typically arises from the gaps in central knowledge, inconsistencies in existing theories or findings, practical challenges faced by practitioners, or emerging issues that require further exploration. These are some of the aspects that can give you a research problem. These are some of the aspects that we health workers can find gaps in, and then we try to come up with the research projects to fill these gaps. Conducting a thorough review of existing literature in the field of interest helps you identify gaps, controversies, or unanswered questions that can be explored further, and hence facilitates identification of the most appropriate research problem. Yeah, like I've told you, once you come up with something in mind, this is now the problem you have seen. You have identified a certain gap in information, and you first go further to read about any information available on that particular problem to really confirm that there is this gap, to really confirm that this gap in information is not filled. And then once you confirm that this gap in information is not filled well, then you formulate your research problem. When defining a problem now you have tried to find out that indeed the gap exists. Yeah. So when defining a research problem, researchers consider the following. Number one is the background information. This involves understanding the context and the background of the research topic, and it is essential for framing a clear research problem. You first try to confirm, like I've told you, that a gap really exists in this information. Then literature review. Now, this is not the other really official literature review, but now you're beginning the literature review process. Much as you have not started writing much on on the literature review, but at least you have started reviewing literature to confirm that a gap really exists. So, researchers identify these gaps in knowledge and formulate research questions that will contribute to the existing scholarship of information. You get it. Then scope and objectives. This is also considered in defining the scope and objectives of the research. It clarifies what the study aims to achieve and ensures that the study remains focused. You get it, eh? Yeah. Objectives of the study and then the scope of the study. We are going to see everything in details very well. However, the objectives is what you want to achieve in the end. And then, in other words, the objectives, you're trying to answer the research questions that you came up with. Then the scope is like the limits, the limits of your research. Limits in terms of age groups, limits in terms of geographical location, limits in terms of sexes to consider. You get it, eh? That is all the scope of the study, and it is very important when defining the research problem. Then a research design. It is also considered the research problem or questions. Or question guides the decisions about research design, methodology to go with, data collection techniques, and analysis methods. Then we also consider the significance when defining the research problem. Yeah, we also consider the significance of this research. So articulating the significance of the research problem or question highlights its relevance and potential contributions to the field of study. We don't want you to conduct a research that will end in vain. We want you to conduct a research that will add on knowledge, on the available knowledge, or that will fill the gap in information on that particular issue. Possible research problems are, for example, in the field of nursing, we can have patient safety, we can have the nursing staffing, chronic disease management, end of life care, you get it, eh? Professional practice, you get it, and other related problems. So, after identifying the most appropriate research problem, then you must formulate research questions or hypotheses. So let's get oriented. Research question or a hypothesis. Formulating a research question or hypothesis helps to define the scope and direction of the study. We have seen what a scope is. Yeah, so when you formulate a question, you're trying to get the direction into which your research project is going to be flowing. So the research question is an interrogative statement that identifies the focus of the research. You get it? So while a hypothesis is a testable prediction about the relationship of the variables. Recently, I was giving you examples. As the research question states, does the smoking cause lung cancer? Does smoking cigarette cause lung cancer? That is the research question. Then the hypothesis will say, remember the hypothesis, we have two types. We have the null hypothesis and then the alternative hypothesis. The null hypothesis will say, cigarette smoking does not cause lung cancer. That is the null hypothesis. Then the alternative hypothesis says cigarette smoking causes lung cancer. Remember the question said, does cigarette smoking cause lung cancer? You get it. So researchers aim to negate, they aim to challenge the null hypothesis, and they aim to support the alternative hypothesis. That's what we refer to as H1 and H0 and H1 respectively. So I guess we get the relationship between the two. So both the research questions and the hypothesis guide the research process by providing a clear objective for investigation, because the objectives of this study are obtained from the research questions. We are going to see when we reach chapter 1 of the research proposal. So a research question or a research hypothesis, what do you consider? What are the considerations? Number one, clarity. The question should be clearly articulated and specific to avoid ambiguity. Does cigarette smoking cause lung cancer? That is a very clear research question. Then relevancy. It should address a significant issue or gap in knowledge within the field of study. I think that one's also clear. It must be relevant. Then feasibility. This is what we, is it applicable? Shall we able to perform to achieve, to answer such a research question? Shall we be able to differentiate between the two hypotheses, the null and then the alternative hypothesis? These all come from feasibility of the study. So the question or hypothesis should be answerable within the constraints of the study, including time, resources, and ethical considerations. Remember, the study has its own constraints. There are cases, for example, during COVID-19, whereby movements were limited. So you cannot a research which will need you to be moving household to household, yet movements are limited. Such a research might not be feasible, and the feasibility is being limited by time. You get it. There are cases whereby the research will need a lot of money to put in to have the research process conducted, and such monetary resources might not be available at that time, and that for that case it becomes a limitation, and therefore the research might not be feasible. Ethical considerations. You might be able, you want to take now blood samples for your research, but you are in a culture which does not allow, which is not okay with giving up their blood samples. Such a research might not be feasible enough. I've just given those examples, but there are very many other examples to do with feasibility, and feasibility comes from the constraints, the limitations. Then testability. A hypothesis should be formulated in a way that allows it to be tested empirically through data collection and analysis. We want to see that once I go to my field to collect data on individuals who have been smoking lung cancer, who have been smoking cigarettes, and we see whether they shall have contracted lung cancer. So if we get our data, shall we be able to differentiate between the two hypotheses? Shall we be able to tell that the null hypothesis is wrong and the alternative hypothesis is correct? You get it. We must be able to solve the dilemma. Then another consideration is contribution. Your research question or hypothesis should contribute to advancing knowledge in the field and have political, practical implications. You get it? Yeah, contribution. It must be able to add on the knowledge, and it must be able to answer the questions. Yes. So an example of a question I've been giving very many examples of research questions, and I guess we really know what now it means. And then hypothesis, we have also seen very many examples of hypothesis. Now, after formulating a research question, and you have also come up with research hypothesis, you need now to come up with a research topic or title. Let's get oriented. A research topic or a title. I think now we know what a research topic is. We don't need to define it. Yeah. So what are the qualities of a good research topic? It should contribute new knowledge or insights to the existing body of research. That one, I guess, is very clear. Your research topic you must come up with a topic that new knowledge, we shall come up with new knowledge, or at least we shall come up with additions to existing knowledge. It should be feasible in terms of scope. We saw what scope is. It includes the age groups, the geographical locations, the sex that you consider. You get it. And then resources and time constraints. It must also be feasible towards the ethics of that the target group or target communities. It should be original and innovative. You shouldn't you shouldn't perform a research on a topic which already exists. Yeah. That research is even a criminal case once you carry out a research work on a topic which already exists. It should also offer a fresh perspective or approach to the subject matter and avoid duplication of existing research. I guess I've talked about that. Then should be clearly defined and should be specific. Yes, it should be specific, and it should outline the research problem, the objectives, and then the methodology in a concise and coherent manner. I gave an example of a research title which includes all of these qualities. We are going to see it in the subsequent, in the preceding slides. Yeah, should be important and have implications for theory, practice, and policy. That's still all goes to adding on the available knowledge. It should be able to contribute to the available knowledge. Yes, and address the gap in the available literature or provide solutions to the identified problem. Then examples of now research topics. Yeah. These I tried to give some examples such that you can relate, or you can relate with your topic that you have tried to come up with. 1. The impact of conflict and displacement on maternal and child health outcomes in Rumbeke state of South Sudan. That is a very good topic. In the next slide, we are going to see how good these topics are. The other good example, the prevalence and the risky factors of malnutrition among children under 5 years in Juba town of South Sudan. Like I've told you, we're going to see how good these topics are based on the qualities. Details and the next slides. Effectiveness of community-based interventions in improving sanitation and hygiene practices in rural areas of South Sudan. You find out that the third topic, effectiveness of community-based interventions. This is a qualitative a topic based on qualitative research. Remember in our research methods one, I discussed with you about qualitative and quantitative research. Whereby qualitative, you try to come up with the why and how question, and then in quantitative, you're trying to come up with the what question. Yeah, what is it, what it is, and here you answer this question in a way of figures, in a way of values. Yeah, you try to come up with values and then you answer the question. So those are some of the topics that talk about prevalence. You get it? Yeah. In summary, your topic should be clear, should be concise, and informative. It should accurately convey the main focus of research while being engaging and interesting to the potential readers. Yeah. Now, this is the sample I tried to give. I tried to reflect different parts of this title such that you can understand why you should include everything that I included here. So, the topic states that prevalence and factors associated with hypertension, with self-reported hypertension among adults in the sub-county of Butambala district, a community-based cross-sectional study. Yes. I tried to give this example and the details as you are seeing there. Number 1, prevalence and factors associated. Now, those are the objectives of the study. You get it? That's what you want to achieve. You want to come up with figures on the prevalence of self-reported hypertension, and you want to also come up with figures on factors associated with the self-reported hypertension. Then how about hypertension? Hypertension is the concept being investigated. You get it? I think you're trying to see the arrows as I illustrated them. Yeah, the concept being investigated is the hypertension now for this case. Among adults, like you're seeing here, is the target population. You get it? It is the population you're targeting. It can be among adults, can be among pregnant women. It can be among children between 5 to 10 years. You get it? Then in the sub-county, that is now the study area. You get it? It is also very, very important. Community-based, that is now the setting or the context of the study. Well, that's what I mean by community-based. Whereby a setting or a context can be institutional, it can be household, can be community-based, like in this study. You get it? Yeah. And then cross-sectional, that is the study design. So all of this information, it is very important to include it in your research title. This example of this title is an undergraduate research. Yeah, it's an undergraduate research. Then perhaps by Kato Alex Male, that's now the principal investigator. So as you're stating your research title, all of the information which is here is very, very important to include in. I think we have seen the reason why it is important to include all this information in your research title. I just hope people have understood here, because this is the heart of your research. It is what it anyone who is going to read about your research paper, they will begin with your research title. They will begin with the relevancy or how interesting even your work is. But for that case, they will base on your research title. Still on the title page, or now you can call it the cover page. The following, this is how now it looks like. This is how it looks like. And this is how you structure your cover page, the title page of your research study. You get it, eh? Yeah. I think the font might be a bit small. Let me try to enlarge here so that you can see everything well. Yes. The title now, this is where you present your title. According to the previous, the way I have been, I said the way I stated the previous title, this is where you indicate it. It is situated above on the top, at the topmost ends of your page. Yeah. It must be specific and concise, meaning it should not exceed 20 word limit. It should not exceed 20 in number of words. Must include variables. We have seen the variables, prevalence, like in the previous topic on previous slide, prevalence and associated factors. Those are the variables we have. Yes. Must mention about the population. For the previous case, we talked about among adults, and then other things that I talked about. A key issue: do not use jargons. Do not use jargons when stating your title. Then indicate submitted by who is the principal investigator for this study. That's why here I indicated put your name or the name of the principal investigator. We are dealing with now the first page, the cover page of your research proposal. We are going to move like this up to when we finish research methods 2. Like I've told you, research methods 2 we are trying to deal with the application of what we studied in research methods 1. We saw everything that we require. You also include the information on your supervisors. We have seen this. You talk about that my supervisor is this so and so, and is in DC and DC field. Is a medical doctor in DC department of pulmonology. You get it? Yes. If you include such information, it will indicate to your reader that this research is really authentic, because the research is about hypertension. Hypertension is a condition from cardiovascular diseases, and one of your supervisors is a cardiologist. You get it, eh? So here we are now very sure that this research was supervised by someone who understands what they actually doing. Then you must also include the reason why you are writing this research proposal. Like for this case, you can say a research proposal for a dissertation to be submitted in partial fulfillment for the requirements for the award of a degree of Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery, or Bachelor of Nursing, Bachelor of Public Health, Bachelor of Midwifery. You put the requirement that you want to achieve, you are going to be awarded. Yes, and then you put the name of your institution. For example, this is Ristal University. You say award of the degree of Bachelor of Midwifery of Ristal University. Then you must also include the date. The date for this case, we don't mean the date as in 11th of that month. No, we just need the month and the year. March 2024, April 2024. You get it? Yes. So this happens to be the first page of your research proposal, or call it the cover page. For that case, I guess colleagues have tried to get it. I zoomed inside that we're not affected by issues of font size. Yeah, thanks for watching this lecture. The first lecture of Research Methods 2 ends here for today. These are the contact details. You can reach out to us. You can go to YouTube. Our lectures are always uploaded there. And then watch and learn everything to do with the research methods. Thanks for watching. Once again, my name is Kato Alex Male. We have been learning about the overview of the research proposal, and today's objectives are as listed here. Our next lecture is going to be about chapter one of the research proposal. That's our next lecture. Thank you. Have a nice time.